Ray Amanda here for AMN TV. We're here with the head honcho Factor 5, Julian Egebrecht. Julian, basically tell us the premise of Lair here, basically for the PlayStation 3.
The premise of Lair is the reinvention of dragons, really, and the reinvention of fantasy. You're part of an elite force of dragon riders in this world, and it's medieval, it's dark, it's gritty, and basically it's about a huge war between two civilizations. And the cool thing about it is, as realistic as it is in many respects, the one thing where evolution took a turn in our world is that dragons actually exist, and that is what you do. You ride a dragon, you control a dragon. Dragons don't talk. We are not going that way. And basically, your dragon can do anything what a dragon you would imagine could do. You can fly with it. It's aerial combat. You can go seamlessly to the ground. We've got huge worlds. You fight armies on the ground. We've got thousands of soldiers. We've got a huge scope on the game, but also a very intense, visceral experience when you actually get in combat with other dragons. You do far-range combat with the fire, but you also get in to melee situations where you actually have to take out other dragons directly.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit what we're seeing here right now?
What you see right now is basically the basic flight model, which is basically you using the 6-axis controller and the motion control actually in it to control your dragon. It's fantastic that Sony is finally opening up that realm of the motion control. We've been working on flight games for many, many years, and I was always looking forward to that. So you use that to basically control your dragon, but what you also use it for is other motions. We've got a gesture recognition system. So you do a dash forward, as you can see here, by basically just pushing your controller forward. You can do 180s by basically ripping on the reins of the dragon, just like that. Or you can basically evade other dragons by basically moving the controller. Everything without the usage of a stick. The form factor, though, is a PS2 controller. So what you also have is all of the buttons which we had on the PS2 controller. It's really a new realm of control which Lair tries to explore both in the air and on the ground as much as possible.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the level design of the game. As just looking at the game, it looks amazing. I mean, just the amount of polygons that are, embedded with the dragon and the hero itself. I heard it was 170,000 polygons or something like that. Tell us a little bit more about the scope and the whole environmental objects, levels, things like that.
The scope of the game is really, as you can see here, to go from these large vistas all the way into this visceral combat, where basically we're up close and where you can almost see the every single pore and detail on your hero. And that's really what we've been working on, to provide that experience where you go from a 32 by 32 mile really area in which you can play all the way down to the ground and doing the combat there. And how it translates into gameplay is not only a variety of systems and a lot of different stuff you can do, but also very user-driven solutions to our missions. As you can see up there, we've got a so-called morale meter, and the morale is what your troops, all of these thousands of little guys on the bridge, are doing right now and how they're feeling. Since you're the Air Force, you're fighting against other dragons in the air, but sometimes you have to go down and immediately help them out. So you're juggling all of these different objectives in the air, on the ground, on a really, really vast and huge scale.
Okay, could you tell us a little more about the difference between the land-based combat as opposed to the air-based combat as fighting with dragons?
Sure. Right here we've got the land-based combat, and it's very much, it's not one-on-one exactly, that's what you get with other dragons, but it is against parts of the armies, and you can eat them, which is very important, because if your health actually decreases, you have to land and you have to eat these guys. But you can also wreak havoc and basically bring their morale down by just hacking and slashing through them. You're riding a dragon, so they're basically just cannon fodder for you, and actually fodder for you literally. But we have other creatures in there. So what you see right here is how they're bringing in the Torai, for example. These are pretty huge beasts, and fighting those guys is actually much more tricky than what you've seen with the soldiers.
Were there any limitations to what you guys were able to do with the gameplay in terms of designing the dragon's attacks or the enemy's opposition?
Actually, the basic notion of having dragons with the power of the PS3, not only with high definition and 1080p and with a 7.1 sound, but mostly with the motion control and the seamless air to ground thanks to Cell, that really opened up so many design possibilities inherently when you think dragon, that we really ran with it. And at this point, we could probably work another 4 years on the game and come up with more and more and more and more things. But I think we have to finish it at one point. So no limitations whatsoever. It's more possibilities. And we had the challenge of picking the right ones for the first game set in the Lair world.